Todd Granados. I'm one of the directors with SlutWalk Seattle, and today is our second annual Slut Walk. We'll be marching from Occidental Park all the way up 4th Avenue, and we're rallying at Westlake Center. And the reason we're doing this is to bring attention to victim blaming, slut shaming, and rape culture, and basically the silence of survivors and their family members, and having a topic that's so hushed has frankly given power to the people that are doing the crimes, are perpetrating the crimes. And so we're just not going to be silent anymore. If you want more information, slutwalkseattle.com/FAQs can give you a lot of information about what consent is, what victim blaming is, and our policy.
Hi, my name is Steve Lee. I'm a member of the International Socialist Organization, and I'm here today to support SlutWalk. SlutWalk is a march in Seattle, and it has been around the country, to say that women have the right to control their own bodies. Women have the right to say yes or to say no to sex, and that no form of rape or no form of coercion of women is acceptable. It started out last year in Toronto when a chief of police said that women were to blame for rape if they were dressing like, quote, sluts. And that's where SlutWalk came from. So we're here today to defend the right of women to control their own bodies, to full women's liberation, and to have full equality. So we also defend things like reproductive rights and the ability of women to have abortions and to control their own bodies in all respects.
I'm Helen Gilbert. I'm with Radical Women, and I think it's so important that women are mobilizing again against the issue of rape, domestic violence, and blaming victims of attack. One thing we've been working on is the case of Marissa Alexander. She's an African-American woman in Florida who's been given a 20-year sentence for defending herself against an attack from her abusive husband. So these issues are universal and very acute, and it's this kind of grassroots movement that will make a difference. Thank you.
Very nice. How many is your first time? Okay. So let's get right down to it. The reason that we're here is to put this community and the world on notice that victim blaming, slut shaming, and rape culture can no longer be tolerated. SlutWalk is the first movement to give such a powerful voice to these issues, and that's what SlutWalk is and more. A powerful voice to say enough. This past year, up until today, has been the notice. And so get ready, because this day forward is going to be the call to action. It's going to be a very different, very new year with what we're going to do together. Today you're going to learn more about the issues at hand, the ones that I just mentioned. You'll better understand their impact on individuals and what you can do to make a change. So we have a little bit of a focus on that this year. Why do we still need SlutWalk? I'm sure each of you have an answer to that. And there are a lot of reasons. You can pick them out throughout the rally, so I won't speak much about the why, but I will share this with you. One of the reasons, to me, is the stories that have transpired throughout the past year from being here. And you being here today makes a difference not only in your life, but in the lives of others. And I have an example of things really happen this way. Just a few weeks ago, my daughter and I, we were at a shop in Kirkland, and SlutWalk kind of got mentioned. And the woman behind the counter just froze. And she just deadlocked me in the eye, and she said, "My best friend marched there last year. She did it for her sister because her sister just couldn't do it. She had endured years of abuse from an ex after protection orders and all of those things that are supposed to help. And that included sexual assault. So she did it for her sister, and she did it for the pain that her whole family endured." Now, I don't know the whole story, but I do hope that the same young woman is here today.
So yeah, before we start, I want to say a bit about self-care, because, I mean, this is a very difficult topic to talk about. I know that a lot of us have experienced sexual assault, and so spending an entire day talking about it can really wear on you. It can trigger anxiety and depression and flashbacks and dissociation and things like that. And we don't want that to happen. So if what we're talking about is ever too difficult for you, we want you to do anything you need to feel safe, whether that's leaving the event or taking a break to go like try on makeup or something and look like a diva. That's all okay. Our first priority is your safety, physical and psychological, so please, if you ever need to take a break, please do it. Thanks.
Next, we have Samuel.
To feel either explicitly or implicitly responsible for what happened to them. And this can be really overt, like saying, oh, you were asking for it because you were wearing a short skirt, or it can be more subtle, like simply, you know, what were you doing out there when that happened? What were you thinking? You know, you should have taken more steps to protect yourself. Slut shaming is when people, especially people who identify as women, are made to feel ashamed or guilty for their actual or imagined sexual proclivities. And those are two things that we're against very strongly. We think that the word slut is used a lot of the time to dehumanize people, especially women, and make it easier for society to kind of turn a blind eye to their suffering when they're assaulted. And finally, rape culture is a culture when sexual violence is common and which prevalent attitudes and norms trivialize and condone sexual violence. And we are for two things in particular. One of them is consent. And consent is an active, non-coercive, continual agreement to engage in sexual activity. It's not silence. Agreeing to sex after being, consent is not silence, agreeing to sex after being pressured, or getting a yes from someone while their judgment is impaired by substance use. And consent can be revoked at any time, for any reason. It can only be given by human adults. And finally, we are all about sex positivity here. And sex positivity is the attitude toward humans that embraces, accepts, and legitimizes all forms of consensual sexual activity and all sexual orientations and identities.
I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to be alive. I'm proud to have the freedom to do what I'm doing now, because in other parts of the world, you could be jailed, exiled, or publicly executed for speaking your mind. And that's really sad. I'm just going to give you one bad example. My mission today is one of compassion. I've spent my entire life trying to figure out what would change the world, what would make the world a safer place for everyone of every gender, no matter what you wear, where you're going, what you're doing. And that's really important. So my one bad example, this happened recently. I did burlesque, yes, yay, burlesque, at the Wing Luke Museum with the Shanghai Pearl. And I had to walk by myself through the International District. And I thought, oh, it's not bad. I live near there, right? So I just wore a t-shirt and jeans. And on my way there, I was harassed in so many different ways. One guy actually followed me. I was swore at. I was called a hoe. The really sad thing is that I walked by one guy and he just shook his hand like, hello, how are you? And I don't mind being social, because that's part of humanity. It makes life beautiful. I shook his hand just to be kind, and he wouldn't let go of me. I had to scream to get him to let go, and I ran into the museum, put on a smile, and put on my show, because I didn't want my co-performers to be sad. I didn't want to tell them what happened. And I know that may not seem like a big deal here when everyone talks about other things they've been through, but it hurt me. So the really funny thing is that I got home, and after crying, I thought, okay, I have 2 more shows, I have to walk here. I'm gonna dress like a dude and see what happens. Is it really my clothing? Is it really the fact that I shower and look nice? I'm gonna look like absolute crap and see what happens. And I did. I didn't shower, big flannel shirt, baggy pants, hair all tucked up into a cap. And I was still harassed both times. Why aren't you smiling? Why aren't you sexy? What's wrong with you? Are you a lesbian? What is wrong with you? That's a harassment I got. one guy did whistle, but it's all terrible. Compassion is important because we can teach it to our children, we can give it to others, we can give it to ourselves. It's a way to change the world. Everyone from the great Dalai Lama to Gandhi to Martin Luther King, Maya Angelou, Mother Teresa have preached compassion because it does work. And it doesn't cost us anything to give. That's what compassion can do. It can change you. It can make you calm. It can inspire you to do great things. And it saved my life, and it can save yours. Just by being kind, by smiling at someone, you can prevent them from committing suicide, and that's what a young man told me. Thank you for smiling at me on the bus that day, because you made me realize that there was good people in this world, and it kept me going. I urge you all, be compassionate to yourselves. Don't blame yourselves if something bad happens, if you get raped or something like that, because God, it's not your fault. It's about the attacker. It's about their need for violence, not what you wore, what you did, who you went with. It's not that.
It is so awesome. We were actually here last year, and it was an amazing event, but it's really something to see even more faces, and even more people who identify as male. That is really awesome. So my name is Ophelia DeSaris.
And I'm Chris DeSaris.
And that's Ryan. And we are the founders of an organization called Women Speak Out. Women with parentheses about the WO, because it's inclusive of no matter what gender you identify with.
And if you don't identify with a gender, it's inclusive of that too.
The reason we formed Women Speak Out was pretty in-depth. I'm a survivor of childhood sexual assault, abuse. I am also a survivor of rape. I am also a survivor of DV.
And I'm a survivor of childhood sexual abuse as well.
It's not an easy thing to stand up in front of people. We're advocates in the community. I, by trade, am an assaulted women's and children's counselor advocate. Been doing this for 10 years now. Thank you. And we speak in the community. That's what we do. We go around to colleges, universities, high schools. We like to start them young, and we like to talk about the reality of our culture and what it means, what abuse means. Rape doesn't just happen. It's inbred, it's in our community, it's in our societal ideas. We all know this. Everybody's shaking their heads. I only have 3 minutes, so I could go on for, what, an hour and 45 minutes? But we're gonna make it as brief as possible. There's really empowerment in being able to stand up like you are today, whether you're a survivor or you're still identify as a victim. So I want you to all yell as loud as you can because you're proud of yourself and each other. Right now, do it.
And one thing I did, it's great seeing all these kids here today, because who do kids go to learn how to deal with injustice and things like victim bashing? Where do they learn that from? They learned that from mom, dad, mom, and all adults. So it's great to see kids here watching you stand up to victim bashing. And the messages today, the messages to our institutions, to the way the court system's run, to our police department, to even family and friends. Never blame the victim, ever.
Hi, my name is Kat McGee, and I'm part of Seattle Clinic Defense. We're a grassroots organization that fights for reproductive justice. We defend clinics from right-wing anti-choice groups that harass people accessing healthcare and reproductive choice. We have a big yellow Seattle Clinic Defense banner right over there. We're really super fun. Come yell at bigots with us. Check us out. Am I dead now? You're just gonna come yell with us? We're good? We want to rebuild a fighting women's movement against all forms of oppression so that everybody can have access to the health care and justice that they need. Please come join us. All right. So we believe that direct action is necessary to challenging sexism, slut-shaming, and the blatant attacks on our bodily autonomy that have been crashing down around us all this past year. We are fed up with the failure of the Democratic Party and the large women's organizations to defend our reproductive rights. And we're disgusted by the stunning bigotry of the GOP. We know that if we want our rights to be defended, we have to do it ourselves. Our goal is to rebuild a fighting reproductive justice movement and anti-sexism movement. We can't do that without all of you wonderful, glorious sluts. So I'm just going to give a little background about why you should be especially talk about this. And again, come join us. 2011 saw the largest amount of anti-choice legislation ever introduced in the United States. In New Hampshire, where I'm from, there was legislation that included blatant lies saying that abortion causes breast cancer, which it does not. I know, it is pretty dumb. Virginia had proposed legislation that would violate people's bodily autonomy by requiring transvaginal ultrasounds, a procedure that requires a wand be inserted into a person's vagina. This act has been referred to as state-sanctioned rape. Since this ultrasound has no medical reasoning behind it, the real reason is to shame anyone trying to access an abortion and trying to make it as embarrassing, expensive, and difficult to navigate as possible. And also, to be clear, even if I've had sex before and had something up there, that does not mean I'm consenting to sex with a wand. Now, not to be outdone, a proposed bill in Alaska would require a permission slip from the male partner that helped conceive the pregnancy before someone can access, again, a medically unnecessary ultrasound before an abortion. What that can mean for rape victims is that if you become pregnant after a rape, which does actually happen despite what Todd Aiken would think, is that you have to get a permission slip from your rapist. And as an additional insult, if someone does choose to carry a pregnancy to term that was the result of a rape, in 31 states allow custody rights and visitation rights to that child for the rapist. All of these things make my stomach turn. And lastly, I'm sure as you've heard, when Georgetown law student Sandra Fluke tried to testify in defense of reproductive health care, not only was she denied the ability to do so, she was later called a slut by the ever-vile Rush Limbaugh. More recently, Representative Todd Aiken coined the absurd term legitimate rape to further insult rape survivors, and using this ridiculous idea to continue limiting our access to abortion. 1 in 3 women, including 1 in 3 Catholic women, will have an abortion in their lives. The main 3 reasons people choose to have an abortion are financial concerns, concerns about the relationship that produced the pregnancy, and concerns about pursuing other life goals. These are all legitimate reasons to terminate a pregnancy. And the choice to terminate a pregnancy belongs to the pregnant person alone. One in 6 women will be raped in their lives. The anti-choice movement does not care about the lives or rights of women. And since most people who choose to have an abortion already have children, it's clear that they don't care about families either. We hold a banner that says, "Trust women," because we are told every day to not trust women. The past year has driven home the fact that recent attacks on reproductive rights are an attack on sex and the people that enjoy having it, which is probably all of us. And the connection of reproductive health and abortion access to victim blaming and slut shaming has never been so grossly apparent. SlutWalk is part of the fight for increased reproductive rights because SlutWalk represents a struggle for a shame-free and safe society.
Within this struggle, we must fight for real sex education, real health care, as well as against slut-shaming in our homes, workplaces, and on the street. So Seattle Clinic Defense will continue to fight against the anti-choice movement wherever it shows itself. Together we can build a new liberation movement that fights to ensure that no person has their bodily autonomy violated or their personal desires shamed. There is no doubt that access to safe, legal, free abortions is part of that movement. I want to take a moment to talk about victim blaming and how it is consistently used as a tool to trample on the rights and lives of already oppressed people. All you standing here today are in solidarity with people like Trayvon Martin, CeCe McDonald, and many others that the mainstream media doesn't tell us about, who are the victims of racism, transphobia, and the prison industrial complex. The anti-victim blaming movement we're building here today should be a call to support and fight against all types of oppression. If we want our movement to grow, we need to be allies for all people who experience slut-shaming, and victim blaming. Whoever, wherever, and whatever their circumstances might be, we should, without question, rise to defend them. Today we call bullshit on the sexism, racism, classism, transphobia, and all the other bullshit we deal with every day. We should all be doing a slut walk every day, partially because it's just really fun. We have to fight and organize so that we can keep up the pressure to win what we want. Join Seattle Clinic Defense to fight with us and bring your ideas, from picketing sexist bosses to founding anti-street harassment campaigns or anything that you deal with on a daily basis. We want to help you fight. Now, I really love how loud you're all being, so I want to try and end my little talk with some chanting. So I'm going to start with, what do we do when bodies are under attack? Stand up, fight back. So, what do we do when our bodies are under attack? Stand up, fight back. What do we do when our bodies are under attack? Stand up, fight back. Thank you.
Vanny Kosas, she is reading a piece of prose entitled, there she is, Daughter Returning Home. This piece explains the pain carried by survivors of assault, the hopelessness they feel when the perpetrator is not held responsible, and most importantly, the capability that we all have as survivors to find healing and balance in our lives.
Do you know what lies behind the eyes of every girl who has ever been violated between her thighs? Do you know what happens when the soul takes flight? It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. It's like babies with no mothers, like laughter with no sound, like hearing screams and surround sound, but the voice cannot be found. It's like trying to swim when you know you will drown, like being lost and never found. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. It's like angels with no harps, like flowers with no hearts. It's like wine at supper time, except the glass is cracked and the glue is invisible in the rubbled aftermath. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. Do you know what is inside every tear that is ever tried? How hard it can be to just try? How the damage is justified? And the perpetrators rarely convicted or tried. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. It's like murder with no evidence, like candles with no essence, like rainbows with no color, like a girl without her mother, and the path to redemption is never mentioned. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. It's like innocence that's been split, like a wrist with too many slits, like freezing and dying and not enough crying to take it to the sea where the waves can wash it clean. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. Do you wonder how many you pass, who stare into the looking glass trying to see, to just find one piece floating free, like an earth with no gravity, like birds with no wings, like a lock with no keys, like a forest with no trees? Find me, find me, find me. I am wistfully sunk to my knees in the realization there are too many of me. I am angrily fighting while souls are dying, taking flight as they give up the fight. Help me, help me, help me. I am gathering daughters in my open arms, and I am alarmed at their numbers. I am calling their names, a fearless hunter. Did you know sometimes we feel alone, like the moon with no glow? But we are finding our way home. It heals, it heals, it heals. We are remembering who we are, how we came here from distant stars. Daughters of light, you are awakening to who you are. Wake up, wake up, wake up. We are the mention of all things blessed, like soft faces and happiness, like holding hands in the sun's glow, like demanding to take no more. We are raising our fists. We are insisting that they stop this. We are returning to our purpose. Come home, come home, come home. We are the makers of destinies, the seekers of truth, the lover of beauty. I see the good in you. We are the scent of everything sweet, where the silence meets reality. Our voices in unison, we will continue to sing. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.